too strong. And SDA the board. Clark 1 for 4 in the early go. Fires. Too strong.
Caitlin Clark takes a shot and simply misses. The kind of miss that happens to every single player in this league, every single night, multiple times during a game, regardless of how talented they are. And before the ball even reaches the floor, before she has even had a chance to turn around and get back on defense, Stephanie White is already motioning for her to head toward the bench.
Can be as great as anybody. She can be Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. She can be anybody. As long as she got Hey Arnold over there as a coach, Mr. Crab's daughter over there as a coach, and as long as she got that ball hog on her team that's messing up the whole team chemistry, we gonna keep losing. And we not winning the championship. So as long as that coach is over there, and as long as that ball hog keep doing the same thing she doing, Indiana Fever fans, Caitlin fans, y'all may as well get championships out of y'all heads. It's not happening. Listen, if Stephanie White keeps doing that gimmick she has going on over there, being weird, we are not winning anything. We'll be lucky to make it out of the first.
Not a timeout, not a dead ball, not a natural stoppage where a coach quietly makes a rotation call, because that's simply what coaches do late in the quarter. This was immediate. This was a missed shot, followed by a hook, followed by Caitlin Clark walking directly toward the sideline, while the New York Liberty continued playing without even a pause in the action. Fever fans watching the game noticed it immediately, because this has stopped looking like a one-off decision and started to look like a genuine pattern. One that's now happened in back-to-back games against two completely different opponents. There's a tweet circulating right now that puts into words exactly what everyone watching this game seemed to feel in real time, and I want to read it because, honestly, it says it better than I could myself.
Indiana Fever have somehow managed to turn Caitlin Clark into a role player. Absolutely insane. 2 assists in the first half. And it's not because she suddenly forgot how to create. The ball has been taken out of her hands for the second game in a row. Too many possessions have Clark standing off ball or parked in the corner while Indiana tries to manufacture offense elsewhere. Why? I'm not going to pretend I know the reasoning, but I know this. This team is not better with Caitlin Clark watching the offense instead of running it. You have one of the most dangerous playmakers in basketball. Put the ball in her hands. This shouldn't be
pick out the best player in the league, but it sucks that she got a stupid coach and a ball hogging teammate.
Indiana looking for their first lead. Clark behind
picking them apart. Threes. Picking them apart. It's too easy. It's too easy. Look. Breaking them down. But her coach, Where's Waldo, Cur's the cowardly dog. Like, what are we talking about? Hey Arnold sitting over there. Like she's pathetic, man. We need a new coach. Or Caitlin needs to go. This is pathetic. She is putting on MVP caliber play, but she got teammates that wants to hold the ball like they Michael Jeffrey Jordan or somebody. Like, this is nasty. She's setting people up, getting people open, all type of stuff.
2 assists in an entire first half. And it is not just a cold shooting night making the stat sheet look misleading. Caitlin Clark averages over 8 assists a game this season. She is one of the best pure playmakers anywhere in basketball right now. A player defenses build entire scouting reports around specifically because of what she can create with the ball in her hands. And for 2 straight games in 2 different cities against 2 different opponents, the ball simply has not been in her hands the way it needs to be for this offense to operate the way it was designed to operate.
Stephanie White is a bozo bonehead, man. Get Caitlin Clark the hell away from this clown-ass organization. We got to get into this game, man. Y'all know Caitlin Clark played small forward for the entire first half of the game, all the way until about 4 minutes left in the third quarter when the Indiana Fever were down by 9. The girl was playing small forward. Aaliyah Boston brought the ball up the whole first 3.5 quarters. This is ridiculous. This is malpractice. Stephanie White should be fired immediately.
If you watch where Clark is actually positioned when Indiana runs its half-court sets, she is not at the top of the key initiating. She is not bringing the ball up the floor and reading the defense the way she is all season, the same way that made her such a difficult matchup for every team on the schedule. She is parked in the corner, She is standing off the ball, arms relaxed, watching someone else try to create something out of nothing, while the most dangerous playmaker on this roster simply waits for a catch-and-shoot opportunity that may or may not ever come her way. That is not just a system adjustment. That is a talented player being sidelined within her own offense while she is still technically standing on the floor in uniform. One more time.
Sometimes you gotta let them go do things that you're going, that's not a real good idea right now. Right? Because if you start to harness greatness, then they start to second guess what you want them to do.
And this is the difference from a real, actual great coach and then Stephanie White. Stephanie White has this thing, and this is why I say she got all of the characteristics of a narcissist. Because Stephanie White wants to control, micromanage every single thing. And it was a clip going around when Caitlyn played Toronto, I believe it was that game. And she crossed the girl up real bad. The girl went way, she started guarding her own teammate somewhere. And everybody was like, why didn't Caitlyn take the three? And she was wide open. It goes back to that second guessing that Cheryl just talked about. Because every time Caitlyn does something, who do you see in her ear on the sideline? Who do you see chasing her down trying to say something? Who do you see always on the sideline emoting, doing some type of weird stuff? Stephanie White. And I keep telling y'all, Stephanie White has been...
Let's rewind 2 games because none of this actually started against the Liberty. 2 nights earlier, the Fever were in Dallas taking on the Wings, and Clark had one of the tougher shooting nights of her entire season. For 15 from the field, a cold and frustrating stretch by any measure. She still racked up assists in that particular game, still found teammates when she had the opportunity, but her overall role in the offense had already started shrinking well before that final buzzer sounded. Indiana lost that game, 91-85, and in that same game, Kelsey Mitchell had to completely take over, dropping 37 points and setting a brand new league record for consecutive 20-point performances in a single season.
Clark, like I said, overall, I thought she played pretty well, especially considering the circumstances. This was nifty. Right over the big on the inside. Not to mention, she had a nice step-back 3 at one point in the game early. She got her shot going as the game went along. She didn't shoot the ball well to start it, and then wound up shooting the ball much better. But this was a nice, nifty step-back. Cash. Kelsey also went over 20 points again. That's routine at this point. Here doing it with a boogie move on Jonquel Jones. Whoop! Got right by.
Now 37 points from Kelsey Mitchell is a genuinely incredible individual performance on its own, and nobody watching this is trying to take anything away from her. She has been sensational for stretches of this entire season, and she absolutely deserves credit for elevating her game when her team needed her most. But there is a real and meaningful difference between Mitchell getting hot naturally within a normal, flowing team offense and Mitchell getting the ball 40 times a night specifically because the point guard who is supposed to be running the entire show has been quietly pushed away from her natural role. When Caitlin Clark is not initiating possessions the way she is built to, the offense does not just lose a scorer. It loses its rhythm, its pace, and its ability to create advantages before the defense even finishes setting up in the half court. That is exactly what has happened over these last 2 games, and it shows up in the box score every single time.
Look at this. Look, pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball. Look, Caitlyn wide open, clank, pathetic. Well, let's watch it again one more time. Look, Caitlyn's wide open, nobody's on her. Look, this is pathetic. Yes, a rant is coming. Who does we have as a coach? Where is our coach? Because apparently she missing. This is pathetic. This is probably the worst job I've ever seen a coach do. And then, let's just listen. When the fans booed her, why did y'all stop? She literally deserved that. Y'all literally should start booing again. Why are you hating on Caitlin Clark? How you hating on the best player on the team and anybody else can do something, you fine with it. Caitlin do something, you all over throwing a hissy fit like a toddler. Like, grow up.
This also isn't the first time Stephanie White has made a questionable in-game decision involving Clark's role on this team. Back in May, against the Portland Fire, White pulled Clark early in the first quarter of a game that was still very much winnable at that point. Indiana went on to lose that game by 16 points, a result that looked a whole lot worse once you consider the timing of that substitution. White explained afterward that it was about managing Clark's workload, given her ongoing back concerns, and taken completely on its own. That is a fair explanation for a coach to give. Nobody wants to watch a young superstar get pushed through actual pain chasing a single regular season win in the middle of May. But when you start stacking these decisions up one after another across an entire season, a pattern begins forming that gets a lot harder to explain away using injury caution alone, especially during stretches where Clark looks completely healthy on the floor.
Consistency, right, for us. I thought that there were some moments, where we made them uncomfortable. Not enough. When we were up into the ball pressure, I thought we got some really good things on the defensive end. And then there were lapses that caused fouls and into free throws, lapses that allowed offensive rebounds, lapses that allowed, soft switches into cuts, lapses on the offensive end where we didn't move the ball, we didn't find the right play, didn't find the right pass. Look, you think if you shoot 51%, 42% from the three, and you make your free throws, but more than anything, I think this is just an opportunity for us to keep learning, how much of a sense of urgency you have to play with every single possession. This is playoff basketball right now. Playoff basketball. And there has to be an urgency every single.
After the loss to the Liberty, White faced reporters and talked, as she often does in these situations, about rotations, spacing the offense properly, making sure the ball moves, and giving everyone on the roster their fair share of touches. All of those are reasonable things to say during a post-game press conference, but reasonable-sounding words in a press room do not change what fans actually watched happen live on the floor. You can talk about ball movement and equal touches all you want in front of a microphone, but it still does not explain 2 assists in an entire half from the best pure passer on this roster, and it definitely does not explain her standing quietly in the corner while someone else tries to manufacture offense completely from scratch. Here is what makes this whole situation so frustrating for Fever fans watching at home night after night. Caitlin Clark is not just a good player who happens to score a lot of points. She is the player this entire roster has been built around from the ground up. She is the one every opposing coaching staff game plans for before every single game on the schedule. She is the one who draws double teams the moment she crosses half court, forces help defenders to leave shooters open on the perimeter, and creates the kind of spacing that makes everybody else's job dramatically easier simply by having the ball in her hands. When you take the ball away from her for 2 straight games, you are not simplifying the offense or making it more balanced. You are removing this team's biggest structural advantage against every opponent left on this schedule.
Ridiculous. Caitlin Clark forced the jack up shots in the first 5 seconds of the shot clock because she knows, God forbid, if she passes the ball to anybody, it's impossible for her to get the ball back at any point in a given possession. It's ridiculous. Bro, Stephanie White played Aaliyah Boston at point guard for 3.5 quarters. I'm ready to lose my mind, bro. We got the best point guard in the league. Why is our center playing point guard? Meanwhile, Jonquel Jones was punishing her ass the whole first half. This is crazy, man. This is crazy, bro. Like, Kelsey Mitchell kept her streak going. That's all that matters around here, right? Kelsey Mitchell gets her streak. Yeah, that's all that matters. Indiana Fever lose again. Coaching blunder. This was ridiculous, man.
Go back just a couple of weeks and look at what this exact same roster looked like when Clark was actually allowed to run things her way. Against this same New York Liberty team back on August 11th, Clark finished with 22 points and 10 assists. Her 10th double-double of the entire season, and Indiana absolutely blew New York out 106-92 on their own home floor. That result was not an accident, and it was not garbage time padding. That was Clark controlling the tempo of the entire game, finding shooters in rhythm possession after possession, and putting real sustained pressure on the defense because the ball was in her hands and the offense was actually built around her instincts as a player. Now compare that game directly to the last 2, where the ball has been steadily moving away from her, where she's being parked off to the side for long stretches, and where the results have been 2 straight losses in a row. The contrast could not be more obvious if somebody had drawn it up on a whiteboard specifically to prove a point.
Clark is getting taken out of these games a little bit earlier than usual when we were going through those streaks. Shoot, I saw her play some entire first quarters when we were going through those multiple game one streaks. I don't know the last time I saw Caitlin Clark play an entire first quarter. I don't know what it is. Is Aaliyah Boston hanging out too much at the three-point line? I'm not sure what it is. Caitlin Clark's shot's not quite falling, and if it is falling, then suddenly we stop going, we take her out, and it just seems weird. Because for the most part, Lexi Hull, we can't blame Lexi Hull because she hasn't really been contributing most of the season, right? So it's got to be somewhere between the big three or the coaching. I don't think teams are playing us that differently. Although the New York Liberty do give us more pressure than previous opponents, I think it's an internal issue, something with the team and the coaching staff, more than it is the opponents making us do things we.
And to be clear, this isn't just fans reading tea leaves from one viral tweet either. Reporting throughout this entire season has repeatedly pointed to a real philosophical tension between Clark's natural instincts as a player and White's preferred style as a head coach. There have been multiple mentions across different outlets of White wanting a more structured, deliberate half-court, share-the-ball approach rather than fully turning the keys of the offense over to Clark's pace and her natural creativity in transition. Even respected voices around the league, people like Swin Cash, have weighed in publicly on national television about how much the ball should or shouldn't be sitting in Clark's hands during fever possessions. That is a real, legitimate basketball conversation, and reasonable, informed people can genuinely disagree about offensive philosophy in the abstract. But the results over these last two specific games are not a matter of opinion anymore. They are sitting right there on the scoreboard for anyone to see. 2 games, 2 losses, and in both of them, the guard this entire franchise is legitimately built to win championships around has been treated less like the primary engine of the offense, and more like a role player quietly waiting for the ball to eventually find her.